Hey guys, it's Adam with Grey Ghost, and today I'm going to give you 20 uses for a handkerchief. Some of these are for urban use, some of them are for survival, some of them are for just everyday carry. But a handkerchief is it's kind of coming back in. If you remember, your grandpa probably used to carry one all the time. Mainly they would use it just to blow their nose or to, hand to somebody if they're crying, which is kind of nasty. And why would you want to, wipe your face with something somebody's done snotted on? But anyway, right here I've got a regular 100% cotton bandana, standard, typical, like old West style. It's been washed a couple times, so it's nice and soft. And I've actually got a bandana here too. It's just a different color. Great thing about these is they're fairly cheap. Most of the time you can get them for at least under 15-20 bucks for a single one. And more than likely you can, if you don't mind the brand or the pattern on them, more than likely you can get them for, three pack for like $4 or $5. I typically use the cheap ones. They work good for what I use them for because I'm not blowing my nose in them, and I'm not. But they fold up nice and compact. You see that? That's about 5 inches, and it's about an inch thick. But you could actually, if you wanted to spend the time, you could fold it up a lot more smaller than that. Well, anyway, so an unusual use on this would be some cordage. So this is roughly, say, opened up, say 12 by 12, maybe 12 by 14. But you can actually take and you can cut. So if you had scissors, you would cut it in a circle pattern, and you would do about a quarter of an inch right there, and go all the way down and just make a spiral. And that will give you one long continuous piece of cord, and you could probably get 50 foot. Now, this isn't going to be used for, weight bearing or anything like that, or lashing, but more like a lashing. If not, the second way to do it is if you had a knife, you could just cut strips and then tie them together. And again, you could get a lot of cordage out of this. You could braid it and make it stronger if you wanted to. So the thing about that though is that's destructive, okay? And I've got just 20 uses off the top of my head. So you, in a real survival situation, unless you absolutely had to, you wouldn't want to damage something as useful with as many uses as this, unless it was like last ditch effort. So number 2, a container. I know you've all seen the old thing, the old cartoons and all, where the guy's got it tied to a stick like that, and he's hanging it from a stick, and he's got it over his shoulder. Well, that'll hold a surprising amount of stuff, and it's quick and it's easy, and it's all contained in one spot. So that actually makes a really nice container. Third thing is signaling. A lot of handkerchiefs come in bright colors, like my blue one, the bottom one down here, or they have they're colors that's not normally in the wild or naturally made. So like this, if I was lost, I could take and cut strips of this and tie them to branches, so that the people coming to search and rescue for me, I could leave a trail basically of where I went. Or if I was to see them, and I could take and make my presence more visible by like swinging this around, like in a circular motion. Like I said, so that's what you want to do in a survival situation, is you want to be found. So anything you can do that increases your survival, your surface area, your eye-catching ability is something that you want to do. And like I said, you could tie this to a trail, you could tie this to a limb. Hell, you could cut little arrows out of it if you really wanted to dummy proof it. All right, number 4. So you can use this as a weapon. Obviously, you could strangle somebody with it and, wrap it around their throat if you were to sneak up on them. But you could also put a small rock and like a hair tie or rubber band or even a piece of cord, like in that end there, like that, and have a rock in there. You could swing it and use it as a melee weapon. This also works great. Well, not great, but this is an option for a knife attack. If you have one of these, you could take and you can wrap the guy up pretty decent with it if you have a little bit of training with it. Number 5, cooling. If you take and you wet this and you put it on your neck or your head, then this is going to cool your body temperature down a lot. Another thing that you can do is you can take and you can, if you wanted to cut, if you had 2 of these or 3 or whatever in your pack, you could take and you could put them on your wrist right here and wet them. It doesn't even have to be like clean drinking water. Just the fact that the water is on there will do the evaporative cooling. That could be used in a first aid situation where somebody is suffering from heat exhaustion. You could wet one of these and you could place it on their wrist and then the back of their neck or their head. And this would help to cool them down and help prevent some of the side effects from heat exhaustion. Number 6, water collector. So again, tying this to your wrist or to your ankles, that's an aboriginal trick that they used to do in the morning. Right when the dew would fall, they would walk around and they would have these tied to their ankles and they would have it kind of shredded so there's more surface area, and they would use this to collect water. Sometimes they could get as much as a liter a day just by walking through and collecting. In an area where it's prone to like heavy dewfall and there's just not fresh running water available, you could actually just lay this out on the ground and it would collect a surprising amount of moisture. You can also use this like if you were in a jungle or something like that to wipe the leaves down and then wring it into your mouth. Number 8, a relaxation tool. So I heard about this from a buddy of mine that got deployed, and he would get real homesick, so he would get one of these. He would get his wife to get like her handkerchief basically, and because this was something that he could store in his pocket or he could store it close to him, and she would just spray her perfume on it, and it would kind of remind him of her and remind him of being home and the family and stuff. Power of smell has a lot to do with how you feel about something, and so this would just be something when he was feeling kind of down or homesick, he would just kind of pull it out, and to the guys in his unit, he looked like he was just wiping his face or wiping sweat or whatever, but he was actually really getting a little bit of home. Another thing that you could do with this is like essential oils, and do the same thing. So like my wife has real bad stress, and she actually uses the oil on her wrist, but she could do something like this and just put a little bit of essential oil on it, and then take a breath of it when she needed to. Water purification and filter, number 9. So there's a couple methods you can do. You can get it in 2 ends like this. So this end will go into dirty water, and then this end will go into an empty jar, and water would actually run up the bandana and into the jar. It would leave all the sediments in the dirty jar. This is a pretty cool trick. It's not going to get you a lot of water, and then it doesn't kill the bacteria. It just cleans the sediment out. So you'd still need to boil it or use your tabs or whatever, but pretty cool way to do that. The other way to use it as a filter, obviously, is just to pour water through it, like through a jar, and just basically using it as a strainer. Number 10, char cloth. So this only works with 100% cotton bandana, which this is. But you could cut little strips of this up, and you could put it in some type of metal container that you can seal. And you would put just a little small hole in it, and you would throw it in the fire. And basically what it's going to do is it's going to superheat this without allowing it the ability to combust. And so it would take a spark really easy, and it would make it to where you could take and have a pretty easy fire starter. And when I say pretty easy, pretty easy. So this would be something that if you were in a survival situation and you were planning on having to be out there a couple days, that you would want to do. If you got your first fire built, obviously you want to keep it going. But if it went out, or if you were planning to move, that's when you would use the char cloth. Let's see. Tourniquet. I'm not going to go in much detail on that. You could use this as a tourniquet. Anything can be used as a tourniquet that you can tie. I'll probably get a little bit of slack about that, but it's true. If you can tie a knot in it tight enough, then you can use this as a tourniquet. I will say though, if you have a larger individual like myself, this probably wouldn't fit around my leg. It may fit around my arm. Maybe. I don't know. 12, a compress. Same thing. You could wet it. You can put it on their temples, or if you had a person in shock or something. Number 12. Makes a great backdrop for a photo. If you wanted to use, like, say you're doing a photo shoot, or you doing an EDC post, something like this really breaks up the background. And I'm sure y'all would rather see that than my ugly truck cover. And again, it comes in hundreds of colors, and they're fairly cheap, so you could probably get one at little or no cost. Let's see. Number 14, a cash stash. So if you fold these back up like I had it originally in the video, then what you can do is you can actually hide money on one of the insides. So like that, and then fold it like that. You can hide cash or card inside there. And most of the times in a robbery, especially if you pull this thing out and blow your nose in it, most people ain't gonna want to touch this thing. It's a great inconspicuous way to hide cash. Like I said, or you could hide, a handcuff key or whatever. Most people aren't going to see that as threatening. So let's see, cash stash. Number 15, a face mask. Tie that and put it in a triangle, do it cowboy style, like the Old West. 16, cleaning. This will clean your phone. This will clean your body. This will clean your gun. You can use a stick or a toothbrush or whatever to really get inside there. So I don't have to go in much detail on that. Anything that needs to be cleaned can be scrubbed with one of these. So 17, tinder. Again, an all cotton bandana. You can take your knife, and then you could put that on something that was sharp, like non-sharp, and you do it like this, and what you'll start to get is this fuzz. That's the same kind of fuzz that you get like dryer lint, and it takes a spark like nobody's business. You can do that with your jeans. You can do it pretty much anything that's 100% cotton. You just sit there and scrape it until you have a pile of it, and like I said, it takes a spark really easy. Number 18, you can use this as a way in camp, you open it up and like that. So it's just basically folded in half a couple times, and you can tote a good amount of firewood just by laying the firewood in here and then closing it back up. And it's a lot easier when it's, you're holding it by your side rather than trying to stumble through the woods with 5 and 6 foot pieces of things held head high. Number 19, a sling. Again, it's not probably going to work for a large individual. This thing won't even go tie around my neck or my head. So, unless they do make them in extra large, but I'm not going to go in much detail on a sling. You do it in a triangle. You tie it over their neck. You put their arm in it. Stuff like that is better not utilized unless it's an absolute emergency. Most people live within, say, 10 minutes, maybe 30 minutes tops of EMS and stuff like that. So unless you're in a real dire situation where it doesn't look like help is going to be coming in the next couple hours, don't try to immobilize somebody or anything like that. There's just a lot of stuff that can go wrong, from blood clots to all kind of stuff. So number 20, and this works great as a disguise. And sometimes you want to be a gray man and blend in. Sometimes you want to stand out, but sometimes you just want to kind of change up. So say something was happening, going down in an urban environment. You would want to change your appearance a little bit. Not gonna give out any specifics, but there's a couple reasons why. I mean, you could be running from somebody. You could be, maybe you had to steal something because survival. Maybe it's SHTF. Who knows? But there's tons of reasons why you could change your appearance, and you could do this fairly easy. And with that being said, this is Adam with Grey Ghost Tactical, and these are 20 reasons why you should carry a handkerchief.